to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the most listened to daily Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest of all.
Come on, Dolphins fans. Time to fins up.
We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
Good evening, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast on this Tuesday evening, June the 3rd. I am your host, Mike Oliva, flying solo again tonight as we got a ton to talk about as the Miami Dolphins OTAs are in full swing. But before we get to that, let's get some of the business out of the way. If you're watching this right now on YouTube, take a second right now at the top. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment underneath. Let's get it out of the way up front. Also, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's show, Caneswear. Go to the website, caneswear.com. Father's Day is coming up. If you got to get something for dad, and they got the best and the most affordable Miami Dolphins apparel anywhere on the internet. If you want to get dad a t-shirt, a polo, a jersey, a hat, a windbreaker, or anything for the home or office with a Miami Dolphins logo on it, the website, caneswear.com, has it all. If you're in South Florida, stop by their shop at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, but just head to the website, caneswear.com. They got stuff for the Miami Hurricanes, your Florida Panthers, who are once again in the Stanley Cup Finals, the Miami Heat, the Miami Marlins, and all of the college teams in Florida. But specifically, if you're a fan of the Dolphins, caneswear.com is the website to go to. All right, let's get to the news. And this Jonnu Smith story, report, saga, whatever you want to call it, has more twists and turns than an afternoon soap opera right now. Tuesday morning, Adam Schefter put out a report saying that the Pittsburgh Steelers were meeting with free agent wide receiver Gabe Davis, and that Pittsburgh is not expected to trade for Jonnu Smith. A lot of fans of the Miami Dolphins like, okay, Pittsburgh's out of the mix. Will another team trade for him? Will Jonnu and Miami make up here, and will they give him a little bit of a raise? What's going on? And to quote and then that was the thought process literally all day on Tuesday, because that report came out pretty early, like 9 or 10 in the morning. And that was the report that Pittsburgh was out. But to quote my good friend, Lee Corso,
not so fast, my friend.
That's right. Not so fast, my friend. Because I am recording this at about 6:45 at night. Literally 5-10 minutes ago, Adam Schefter put out a new report and it says back in it, the Pittsburgh Steelers renewed conversations today with the Miami Dolphins tight end Jonnu Smith, who is seeking a new contract. The trade between the Steelers and the Miami Dolphins is still alive, per source. So Adam Schefter is saying, my report from the morning has since changed, and Pittsburgh and Miami are back in talks on the Jonnu Smith trade. I'm sure the Miami Dolphins have granted Drew Rosenhaus and Jonnu Smith permission to talk to the Steelers to talk about the compensation of a contract. And once they can agree on the compensation of a contract, then Pittsburgh and Miami will work on the compensation of a trade. That's what that Adam Schefter report sounds like. It sounds like he's going to be he will be traded soon. If not, here's the deal. Real talk, keeping it 100. Even if this falls apart with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Miami is not going to give him a raise, and Jonnu Smith will be traded somewhere. So if you're still holding out hope that Jonnu Smith is going to come back to the Miami Dolphins, it's not happening. That ship has sailed. He's going to Pittsburgh, which seems very likely with this new report from Adam Schefter, or he's going somewhere else. Mike McDaniel met with the media today at OTAs, and he was asked about this. And of course, it's Mike McDaniel. He's the head coach. He's going to say all the right things, but just because he says it doesn't make it actually true. When asked about this, Mike McDaniel said, I want Jonnu on the team. I want him to be here. I think he wants to be here. And then he went on again and said, my experience with business is you let that play out. So Mike McDaniel, look, what do you want him to say? This is about money. Mike McDaniel's the head coach. This comes down to what Chris Greer wants to pay this man, And as I said on the show yesterday, if you listened to Monday's show, if not, go back and listen. It was a doozy. They're not spending money, the Miami Dolphins. They let every free agent walk. Calais Campbell didn't get that much money from Arizona. Miami was like, not going to pay you. Holland did not get a big money contract from the Giants. He really didn't. Miami offered Holland the same deal he got with the Giants in September. If Miami said, here's the deal from September, you can stay in Florida, no state income tax. They didn't. They're like, bye, go. We're not going to pay you. They're just not paying guys this year. They went cheap in free agency and just signed. I mean, they didn't sign one real starter outside of James Daniels. He's a real starter. He's also injured, so they got him cheap. But the two safeties they signed, not starters. All the linebackers they signed are just guys who are not starters. They'll start here because we got nobody else, but they're not really starters. They didn't restructure and extend Zach Sealer, which I'll get to in a minute. Zach Wilson, he's a backup. They paid him. They didn't sign any starters this free agency period. They brought back Liam Eichenberg. What else do you need to know? If you still think that Chris Greer and the Miami Dolphins are trying to win a Super Bowl in 2025, you're just not paying attention to reality. They're not spending money, and they're not going to now, after not spending money in March, not spending money in April, not spending money in May, going to on June 3rd or 4th or whatever, let's give Jonnu a raise. That ain't happening. They're going to send him away. Miami is trying to get rid of contracts. They're trying to get rid of veterans for whatever reason. I have a theory, and I'm sure I will do a show on it here in the next day or two, but they're not going to pay Jonnu. It sounds like Pittsburgh is back on, and that's probably where he's going to end up here, and they'll probably get a 5th-round pick for him. Again, they're not paying, guys. And that leads them to the next story, Zach Sealer. Zach Sealer is a name to keep an eye on here. And I know a lot of fans are going, you're probably flipping out right now, just thought of me saying it. Here's what's going on. Look at Zach Sealer's contract. First off, he's not at OTA. He's at OTAs. He is not participating in practices. And I know right now it's voluntary, but it's Ramsey not participating. We know why. Jonnu's not participating. We know why. They're both going to get traded. Zach Sealer is also not participating. He's the third guy not participating. And the reason he's not participating, from what I've been told, and there's an article today from Omar Kelly where, read between the lines kind of here. He wants a raise, and he ain't going to get it in Miami because they're not paying guys. And Zach Sealer, as Omar, as he pointed out here in his article, everyone go check it out at the Miami Herald. It's great work. He's coming off back-to-back 10-sack seasons, and he has no guaranteed money on his contract next year. And he is the 50th highest paid defensive lineman in the NFL, earning roughly $10.2 million. So you think he's happy? Now, he might not be as vocal about it as Ramsey. He might not be as vocal about it as Jonnu Smith and his agent, but I'm sure he wants, I got no guaranteed money next year. Pay me, because he is underpaid. So, he's missed 2 weeks of OTA practices. That's 6 practices in total. Once he misses tomorrow's practice on Wednesday, which he will. Mini camps next week. We'll see if he's on the field then. Look, folks, if your eyes haven't been opened yet, open them. There's going to be a fire sale happening in Miami real soon. Okay, we know Ramsey's gone. We know Jonnu's gone. We know they would love to get rid of Hill. They can't now. Come October, if they're 3-4, guess where Hill's going to be traded at the deadline? He'll be gone. And if Zach Sealer's the next in line, don't be shocked if that also happens at some point in October, because I'd be very, very surprised with their track record the past 3 or 4 months of not paying players that they're all of a sudden going to, give him an extension here too. You might be upset. You might be confused. You might not understand it. The organization we root for is a little dysfunctional. And I'll just leave it at that. And it's unfortunate, but this is the team we've chosen to root for. And we'll see what goes on with Zach Sealer here. We'll see. He's not going to practice on Wednesday. We'll see if he practices at the mandatory mini camp. Again, I would doubt it. And I'm sure it has everything to do with his contract, which Miami signed him to a great deal. And they got him at a very team-friendly deal. But that was then. This is now. And him and his agent are smart people, and they're looking how they've performed, how they played, and how he's outperformed that deal. And I'm sure they want a boost, and they want security, because next year's no guaranteed money on that deal. Mike McDaniel at his media session today I'm only going to read a couple because there's only a few things that are worth mentioning. A lot of this stuff is just long word salad answers where he doesn't even answer the question. He just sort of talks for 10 minutes about nothing. But there's two things worth talking on about Mike McDaniel. He was asked about Austin Jackson and his health because, as I often joke about, but it's not really funny, the only player injured more than our quarterback is Austin Jackson. He's probably missed more games than Tua. And when asked about his health and how he is, Mike McDaniel said Austin Jackson is playing out on the field, moving to the best, as good as he's ever looked, finding ways to improve upon his real growth. And Austin Jackson, as of right now in June, appears to be 100% healthy. So that's good news because Miami needs him on the field. He might be their best offensive lineman when healthy. He might be their best offensive lineman now with Armstead gone. So if he's not out there, that's a bad thing. Mike McDaniel was asked about Ramsey. Look, he's going to be asked about Ramsey every day until he's traded. And you can tell from the answers he gave last week to the answers he's given now, he does not even want to be asked about it. But guess what? You're a head coach, you're going to be asked about it. So when he was asked about where things are with Ramsey, Mike McDaniel said, I don't really check in on the day-to-day. Zero is changed from my end. I let Chris Greer work, and I diligently coach. Meaning, don't ask me about this anymore. But guess what? You will be asked because you're trading away a superstar for peanuts, and people want to know why. Patrick Paul did a media session. This was really interesting as well. First off, Paul said he's down 12 pounds. He was 332. He's down to 320, which he feels more comfortable playing at. So that's good news. And asked about now being the starting left tackle with Armstead gone. And Paul seems very confident, which is good because you got to fake it till you make it almost in some ways. And you have to have that, inner voice saying you can do this. And Patrick Paul said, I'm built for this. Always been ready for this. And that's why I play football, to compete at the highest level and to be the best at my job. Love the confidence. Love that he has this attitude. Let's just hope it translates on the field and he can perform to an adequate level. But I love Patrick Paul, what he's saying here. Not a lot of guys with, not everyone has that attitude. Some guys will just, they say the right things, but you don't see the conviction behind it. I see the conviction behind what Patrick Paul said. So I love hearing that from Patrick Paul because honestly, I don't know how the season is going to go out. I think it's going to be a rough year in 2025. But if the Miami Dolphins at the end of the 2025 season, which kind of what Connor Orr and Albert were saying, and Albert Breer was saying yesterday, if you listened to yesterday's show, when talking about the Dolphins and doing that dive into the Dolphins, this upcoming season for the Dolphins, wins and losses matter. We get that. But really, if they come out of this year with a franchise left tackle in Paul, a franchise edge rusher in Chop Robinson, a new number one wide receiver in Waddle, those are 3 of the 5 premium positions that you got locked up with young, talented guys. Yes, they still need a number 1 corner, which is another spot that's a premium position. They still need a long-term answer at quarterback because, spoiler alert, Tua ain't it. He ain't him. He's him for now, but he really ain't him long-term, if you know what I mean. So, but if you got 3 of the 5 locked up with youth, and also if Grant on the line can play really, really well, you got at least some cornerstones, a foundation to start to rebuild, which is what we're in, this roster. So really, Patrick Paul being good, and being a stabilizing effect at left tackle, Chop Robinson being at that 8, 9, 10 sack per year guy would go a long way because, Chubb, he's gone after this year. 3 ACL surgeries. Let's hope he has 1 more year left in him. He won't be here next year. Jalen Phillips, he's going to be a free agent. And if Chop plays well, they're probably not going to pay him, knowing that they're going to have to pay Chop down the road, who has no injury history. Jalen coming off 2 major injuries, how much you want to invest in him long-term? They probably don't. So really, coming out of this year is what those guys are talking about in that show yesterday. Franchise left tackle, franchise edge rusher, new number 1 wide receiver ready to take over from Tyreek, who'll be gone at some point this year or after this year. That's kind of what you want to see from the Dolphins. If they can come out of this year with those boxes checked, having 3 of the 5 premium positions on lockdown, the future is somewhat bright. But if Paul doesn't live up to it, if he takes a step back or has a sophomore slump, then there's major problems in South Florida. So that's what those guys are saying. And look, real quick here before I move on, the feedback to Monday's show was wild. I had people emailing me. I had people sending me private messages on social media channels, people in the YouTube comments. I get it. Like I said, I know that show is going to ruffle feathers. But I played those clips because the one thing about this podcast compared to some others, I don't like to blow smoke up the fans' fanny. I see the car crash. It's coming. And, I know fans don't like to hear critical things about their team, especially in June. But the reality of the situation is the reality of the situation. Most teams that are competing in June are looking to add the final piece to the puzzle. We're trading away Ramsey and Jonnu, and who knows who else. We're doing the opposite of what teams do to compete. And I know some fans like to spin and justify, well, we don't need them. You don't need 88 receptions from Jonnu Smith, 884 yards and 8 touchdowns. You don't need your number one cornerback on the roster with no other quality cornerbacks in Jalen Ramsey. Trading those guys away with no replacements that are going to come this year, that's not good. And I know some fans don't want to hear it. They just want to think, look, it's June. We're going to win the East, and I had somebody who said, we're going to pass the Bills and compete for a Super. And God bless you. If that's what helps you sleep at night, if that's what you think is going to happen this year, God bless you. But you're in the minority, because most people who can just be objective about their favorite team look at this roster, and it's like, this roster stinks. Yeah, it's got a few guys, but, for half those guys, it's if healthy, like Chubb. If healthy, he'll be fine. Jalen Phillips, if healthy, he'll be fine. Our quarterback, if healthy, he'll be fine. Austin Jackson, if healthy, that's most of your core players. You got to put on the caveat, if healthy, because they're always hurt. And so you factor that in, and then you lose Campbell, you lose Holland, you lose Kendall Fuller, you lose so many quality pieces. It's going to be tough. So I love the feedback. I welcome the feedback. What makes it interesting is we all don't have to agree all the time. We really don't. But, as long as we're respectful, and you can send me any type of feedback you want, just be respectful. And again, you can fan any way you want to fan, but that's why that show yesterday got so much feedback, is because I'm trying to warn fans as gently as I can. This year might not be great. We might not be the second best team in the AFC East. We might not even, it's this might be a rough year. So it's June. Start to prepare for it. Here's the reasons why. Here's what other objective people who don't care about the Dolphins what they see and what they're hearing and how they view this when you compare them against other teams in AFC. So there's that. Real quick, before we get to the practice roundup here, I want to give a shout out to everyone listening at finheaven.com. Everyone go to finheaven.com, largest Miami Dolphins message board on the internet. Also, a shout out to our friends at the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page, run by the great and talented Carlos Hernandez. If you're on Facebook, please be sure you're a part of that page. And wherever you're listening to this podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Audible, or YouTube, subscribe. Got more shows coming this week, and I'm working on it. I got 2 people coming out with me on Thursday, and I'm working on another guest as well. All right, Dolphins had OTA practices. Want to give a shout out and special thanks to the folks at the Miami Herald and Sun Sentinel who are on site today to share some of what they saw. I'm just going to recap what they wrote. So kudos to everyone at the Miami Herald, Omar and his crew, and the Sun Sentinel with David Fronis and all the guys over there. Please be sure to subscribe to both the Miami Herald and the Sun Sentinel. They do a great job. So I wouldn't be able to give these updates without them. So just want to give them a shout out. First off, Cam Smith was healthy. If you remember last week in one of the OTA sessions, he left the field and practice limping, and people were wondering about his health status, but he was back out there today and looked to be fine 100%. So good news there. It rained out there today in South Florida. Shocking. It rained in South Florida. They practiced in the rain, and all the reports were that Tua looked good with a wet football. Sometimes that's been an issue for him, but he looked good handling a wet football today in practice. Also, Tyreek Hill was at the practice. Obviously, he's not participating. He wasn't wearing a wrap or a cast on his right wrist. He worked with the trainers on the side. Let's see here. What do we got here? Kenneth Grant, he did, again, take all this with a grain of salt. There's no contact, and there's a ton of restrictions on what they can and cannot do in OTAs. I mean, if I read the restrictions, you would just roll your eyes to the back of your head. So take it all with a grain of salt. So Kenneth Grant, he looked pretty good, heading up against Aaron Brewer and Keon Smith at times, and Grant has looked good through all the OTA practices. Jonas Savanea, the rookie, he continues to show very good agility in the individual drills and in the 11-on-11 practices. So there, Liam Eichel, and also Savanea, who's listed as 6'5", 336. This is from the Sun Sentinel. He doesn't look as large as guys like Austin Jackson and Liam, just from the old eyeball test. So he looks like a smaller 6'5", 336, I guess you could say. Grayson Murphy, the edge rusher, had 3 sacks today. Murphy he's from UCLA, undrafted last season, 2024. Got hurt early in camp, and he can play. Now, is he going to make the team? I don't know. But he's, once again, take it with a grain of salt. In these early OTA practices, he's looked good. So he put a nice move on Larry Borum that resulted in an interception by Afedi Malafanu. And then he moved past guard Braden Daniels, and his 3rd sack came late in an 11-on-11 play. Austin Jackson wasn't wearing any type of sleeve or knee brace, so that's good there. Wide receiver Taj Washington was wearing a red no contact jersey, so he missed all last season as well. He also dropped a pass from Tua in 7-on-7s. Tua also overthrew Devon Achane on a play where he was throwing into double coverage. Jalen Phillips worked in the 7-on-7 drills, unlike last week in OTAs where he didn't. Zach Wilson had a nice throw to tight end Jalen Conyers on a skinny post in the 7-on-7s. It was Zach Wilson's 2nd consecutive nice throw on that series. Cam Smith got burnt in the 7-on-7s. That's a shock. Chubb, he looked pretty good for a guy who's coming off an ACL. Chop Robinson wore the orange jersey. I got more to say about that, but I'll save it for the end of the show. Chop Robinson wore the orange jersey today, and he seemed to be held on one play by Austin Jackson, but his quick first step was very evident. Ali Gordon, the second, hit a nice run in between the tackles, and he showed some burst. And from everyone there, Ali Gordon's size and speed is very much apparent. Guard Keon Smith got an extended look today and has looked pretty good in these OTAs. Tight end Tanner Connor, who will step up in a much larger role once we trade Jonnu Smith, had a nice 25-yard reception from Zach Wilson in 7-on-7 drills. Willie Gay Jr. blew past an interior offensive line play, which would have been a sack on Zach Wilson, and 11-on-11s. On the next play after that, Jalen Wright had a huge hole created by the offensive line for a 20-yard gain. And linebacker Eugene Asante had a great interception on the final play of 11-on-11s from a bad pass from Quinn Ewers. So that's pretty much it. Quinn Ewers has some nice chemistry with rookie wide receiver A.J. Henning. There was that. Trying to see if there's anything else. Zach Wilson hit D. Eskridge for a 40-yard completion over cornerback Isaiah Johnson. Again, I take all this stuff with a grain of salt, but that gives you a little bit of a feel of what's going on in these OTAs. And really, it's about the 3 guys not participating. Ramsey, we know he'll be traded probably in the next few weeks. Jonnu Smith could be traded in the next few hours, it sounds like. And Zach Sealer, not that they're necessarily going to trade him, but the fact he's not participating lets you know this is probably about him wanting more money too, and he's probably doing it in a more quiet, professional manner, let's just say. And we'll see what just something to keep an eye on. Something to keep an eye on. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's getting traded tomorrow. Don't go out there and say, Mike said, Mike didn't say. Mike didn't say. We got video to show it. Didn't say that. I'm just saying the fact he's not participating and the fact he has no guaranteed money on his deal next year probably leads you to think he wants a raise and extension as well, much like Jonnu Smith. And we'll see how this plays out. That's all I'm saying. We'll see how it plays out. Oh, the orange jersey. I haven't had one of these in a while. Let me play the gimmick.
And now it's time for another one of Mike's rants.
All right. If you're listening with children in the car, it might be time for earmuffs. The orange jersey. We all know about the orange jersey. The player who played the best yesterday at practice gets the orange jersey the following day. And, I see on social media people, who's wearing the orange jersey? And if you wear that jersey, you get to pick the music that's played when the team is stretching prior to practice. I don't give a fuck about the orange jersey, and I'm sick of hearing about it. I don't care who's wearing it. I don't care about the music list either. To me, the entire thing is so silly. It reminds me of like a high school coach would do with young teenagers that he's trying to motivate. It comes off as corny, it comes off as lame, and it's a glorified participation trophy in my eyes. And the fact that our head coach does it doesn't shock me in the least, because he seems like a guy who would be all for participation trophies. As a fan, if you read anything into the orange jersey and who's wearing it each day, wow, who cares? It means literally nothing. They use it to prop up the perception of a player who they want to, motivate him, I think. I mean, Liam Eichenberg's wearing the orange jersey. I've seen cornerbacks who probably won't even make this team. They've had them wear the orange jersey. Like, it doesn't matter. It means nothing. It's a prop. It's a participation trophy. It's just a way, and I know fans just looking for any bit of information or content, and God bless you. I just think it's so stupid, and I'm sick of hearing about the orange jersey. I don't know. I think a team with so many issues, and I'm not saying it's an issue. I'm not saying that. I just think it's kind of stupid and silly. So that's my take on that. Everyone, check out the website, DolphinsTalk.com. Military Fan of the Year contest is still open. If you are a fan of the Dolphins who have served in the military or are now serving in the military, you have a chance to win 2 tickets, a parking pass, and $100 to any Miami Dolphins home game this year. It's got to be a game at Hard Rock. Send an email to DolphinsTalk1977@gmail.com and with your name, your rank, where you served, and a short paragraph why you should win, as well as tell me what game you want to go to. We got a bunch of submissions sent in already, and you have till July 7th. Then myself, Ian, Tom, Josh, Aaron, we sit down, read them all, and we pick a winner. So check that out. If you have any questions on where to send the entry or what, I have all the information on my social media. We have it up on the website too, but you can just reach out to me on any social media platform at DolphinsTalk, because we're on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky. We're on all of them, so you can find me and just reach out there. Again, so there's that. And also, wherever you're listening, make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave us a 5-star rating and positive comment. Everyone have a great Tuesday night. We'll talk to you again after a while. Folks, don't forget, we must put an end to highway profanity. Hey, everyone. Mike here from DolphinsTalk.com. Real quick, I just want to give a thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to our channel. Also, just want to say thank you for all the support you provide us here at DolphinsTalk.com and have over the many years. We thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's much appreciated. Without you, there would be no us. I know there are so many other podcast options out there these days, whether it's true crime, the NBA, Major League Baseball, news, politics, and of course, other Miami Dolphins podcasts as well. We really do appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your day, each and every day, to watch our stuff here at DolphinsTalk.com. Also, if you like this show and want more content from us, please be sure to sign up for Dolphins Talk Extra. Go to patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. We have a private message board where you can interact with only extra members and ourselves here, the staff at the website. We have extra podcasts about the Dolphins and also extra podcasts not about the Miami Dolphins. And we give away a ton of prizes. We have a ton of contests that are exclusive to Dolphins Talk extra members. We give away autographs, memorabilia, jerseys, hats, all that fun stuff. So everyone, please be sure to go to patreon.com/DolphinsTalk. It's $3 a month. It's really cheap. You'll have a lot of fun. Trust me. But once again, thank you so much. Everyone, have a great day.